Let's continue to study the 8 incompatible propensities without the freedom to practice the Dharma, taught by Longchenpa. Being bound by this lifetime. Such individuals are tightly bound by their wealth, possessions, children, relatives, and so forth in this life. They are so preoccupied with the strenuous efforts entailed by these things that they have no time to practice the Dharma. Antidote. You need to see through this life. This is important. When you meditate and successfully see through this life, a special feeling will suddenly arise in your mind. You'll no longer cling to anything you have in this life. To renounce this life and see through it means to let go of attachment to everything in this lifetime, including your own life, and devote yourself to Dharma practice. If you have the intention to protect your life, your aspiration to seek enlightenment will be lacking. We should even let go of our own lives. As long as we are alive today, we should practice. Nothing else matters. Only by doing so can we succeed. Mipham Rinpoche said, "When one is a child, they are swayed by their parents. When one is young, they are swayed by their friends. When one is old, they are swayed by their children. Ignorant beings always lack freedom. They are tightly bound by their possessions, children, and relatives in this lifetime. During childhood, they were constrained by their parents, such as being required to get perfect scores in school. Family and secular beliefs teach them if someone hits you, you should hit them back. Parents teach their children, don't let others take advantage of you. Children are influenced by their parents' beliefs. When they are young, they follow their friends. Whatever their friends do, they do the same. For example, if others get married, they also want to get married. If others have children, they also want to have children. If others buy apartments, they also want to buy an apartment. If others have cars, they also want to own a car. Even if they have to become a slave to the apartment after buying it, they still want to do so because they want what others have. They follow their secular friends. How many people can resist following others? Most people follow others. It is difficult not to be influenced by others. From what I recall, I haven't followed worldly pursuits. Perhaps I had cultivated a qualified renunciation in my past lives. That's why I had no interest in seeking power or wealth since I was young. These thoughts never crossed my mind. When filling out my university application, I only chose one major, physics. Back then, I wanted to become a scientist to explore the truth. However, after studying physics for a year in university, I realized this is not the truth I seek. I only wanted to explore the truth and had never thought about pursuing power, becoming rich, getting married, etc. This is a manifestation of not being swayed by others. In the late 1980s, the Dharma was not available. If you don't follow the worldly ways, who do you follow? Most people follow worldly pursuits. Your own power is... While the entire world moves in one direction, you have to go in the other direction alone. Nowadays, the situation is different. More people are learning the Dharma. Back then, I walked alone without anyone understanding me. If no one understands you, can you still move forward steadfastly? Even if you are alone, you should not be swayed by anyone, elders, secular teachers, or any authority, and firmly believe the path I have chosen is correct. When one is old, they are swayed by their children. After reaching old age, if your children ask you to do something, one day I pondered that after the age of 60, whether a person is a practitioner or not, they can seek medical treatment for minor illnesses, but leave serious ones to fate. Why bother treating terminal illnesses? If you have a minor illness, go to see a doctor. If you die, so be it. This is also a kind of virtue. What is the point of lying in bed and relying on intravenous strips for survival in one's 70s or 80s? At least you should think it's time to go. Not wanting others to serve you is also a virtue. Of course, if you can live healthily and independently in your 70s or 80s, you can live for as long as possible. But if you cannot take care of yourself, at least you should think it's time for me to leave. Many people have this mindset. They live as long as they can. Of course, we don't advocate committing suicide. Our point is that we shouldn't forcibly seek hospital treatment, as that is meaningless. After reincarnation, you will become a young person again after 20 years. Why cling to your current old body? You haven't seen through it. We should believe in reincarnation. If we do, we won't be afraid. When we die, let it be. After being reborn, we can continue our practice in the next life. As long as you live with a clear conscience and possess the qualities of being a human, you should be able to be reborn as a human and not fall into states of misery. Although it is true that once you lose the opportunity to be a human, it is hard to regain it, even after countless kalpas, it is not easy to lose this opportunity. Usually, as long as you observe the 5 precepts, you will not lose admission to the human world. However, if you don't observe the 5 precepts, you will lose the opportunity to be a human. Many ordinary people can properly observe the 5 precepts. Now is the age of Dharma decline, a challenging era. In the past, few people couldn't observe the 5 precepts, while most people could uphold them to about 60 to 70%. Those who committed killing, stealing, or sexual misconduct were a minority. But now the situation is different. Very few people can observe the 5 precepts. Throughout lifetimes, we strive for our own happiness, but what we get is endless afflictions. In this life, we should release our attachment to ourselves and worldly concerns. Instead, we should listen, contemplate, and practice the Dharma solely for the benefit of sentient beings. We shall try to seek true happiness in this new way. To help all sentient beings attain liberation, we shall pray to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the Guru, and the 3 jewels to bless us to generate genuine renunciation and bodhicitta and realize the true nature of the mind. As ordinary beings, our minds are overwhelmed by delusions. Our 8 consciousnesses arise after objects emerge, whether it is the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness, the 7th consciousness, or the 8th consciousness. They all have objects. However, all these objects are illusory. All phenomena with appearances are illusory, devoid of inherent nature. They arise and cease from moment to moment, like a movie projection. Everything is created by the mind, and the 8 consciousnesses and all minds are illusory in nature. Having a wicked character. Those with a negative character are unkind and lack credibility in their words and actions. What they do are not reliable. They tend to be excessively judgmental. Deep in their hearts they are cunning and dishonest. Antidote. Some great masters taught that it is challenging to deal with a wicked character. However, in rare cases, some individuals initially had wicked characters, but due to their good roots of virtue and inherent qualities, they can also become virtuous under the guidance of the Guru and the advice of fellow practitioners. Don't trust yourself too much. Instead, observe your shortcomings carefully. In the presence of the Guru and fellow practitioners, we must correct our faults. Don't consider yourself remarkable. Look at how many faults you have and examine your thoughts. In the past, when people cultivated virtues, they would place a white sesame seed for every positive thought and a black sesame seed for every negative thought. You can count how many positive and negative thoughts you generate every day. Initially, there should be more negative ones than positive ones. We should start by examining ourselves. Don't dwell on the faults of others. What's the use of looking at others' faults? Even if the Buddha or great Bodhisattvas were present, you would find faults in them. Do their faults have anything to do with you? Whether someone has attained liberation or not, whether he is an enlightened being or an ordinary being, has nothing to do with you. Just reflect on yourself. Everyone should reflect on themselves. As I sit here and teach you the Dharma, I am also reflecting on myself. Have I generated any thoughts? Please pay close attention to yourself. Attaining liberation is your own task. Even if you deliver excellent teachings, it is in vain if you haven't attained liberation. Of course, you may benefit some sentient beings. However, without attaining liberation, it is of no avail. Therefore, the purpose of studying the Dharma is to reflect on ourselves. When I teach you, I am also examining myself. I share these teachings to encourage you to examine yourself, not to judge others. Sometimes, when you seek my guidance, I may point out your issues to address your habitual tendencies. If you don't seek my advice, I usually won't point out your faults unless you seriously disturb others' practice. As long as you don't negatively impact others. My requirement for you is, first, don't disturb others. This is the most basic requirement. Negatively impacting others creates negative karma. All I can do is to advise you. If you don't listen to my advice, there's nothing more I can do. Secondly, earnestly examine and cultivate yourself. Don't trust yourself. Once you trust yourself, you will think you are always correct. Consequently, you will dwell on the faults of others, but fail to recognize your own faults, believing you are always right. As a result, you will not progress. Therefore, please only look at your own faults. The faults of others have nothing to do with you. As I often say, even if someone commits murder or arson, it has nothing to do with you. If they commit such actions, they will experience the consequences of their karma. Or, if someone is a fake practitioner, it is also their own matter, and they will face the consequences of their actions. What does it have to do with you? Just focus on cultivating yourself, okay? Looking at others' faults is a bad habit. I hope that you all pay attention to this aspect. In the age of Dharma decline, many people have such tendencies, not just a few. Everyone has some degree of this habit, to a greater or lesser extent. Some people have stronger tendencies, while others have milder ones. In reality, when we observe others, we often fail to notice our own problems. We cannot recognize our own issues. If we can, we won't behave in such a way. Observing others' faults brings no benefit to you. Why do such things that are not good for yourself and others? It doesn't benefit yourself or others and only increases your negative karma. Therefore, don't dwell on others' faults. Such people are very pitiful. Why? Devadatta, who was around the Buddha, is an example. Of course, sometimes it is due to jealousy. When jealousy arises, one will observe the faults of others. Jealousy is terrifying. However, sometimes we fail to see our jealousy. Instead, we often believe that we don't have jealousy, but others have faults. As a result, we eagerly talk about the faults of others. In fact, it is due to our jealousy or arrogance. Jealousy and arrogance, which are the characteristics of asuras, accompany each other. Everyone has some degree of these tendencies, though the intensity may vary. We must strive to overcome these habits, especially jealousy. If you have jealousy but don't properly address it, the consequence is terrifying. Every ordinary being has jealousy, and we must acknowledge it. It is something we cannot deny. Everyone has it to some extent. Of course, individuals with sharper faculties have weaker jealousy. Some people have strong jealousy, but their anger may not be intense. It depends. Those who have strong jealousy but not strong anger may not harm others. They may strive hard to surpass others. This is also a form of jealousy, but these individuals won't harm or slander others. They are considered kind people. We usually don't call it jealousy, but rather a competitive personality. In reality, it is a form of jealousy, just expressed in a different way. They work hard and wish to surpass others. This is also a manifestation of jealousy. Their strong competitiveness is a form of jealousy. As a practitioner, if you don't compare yourself to others, you won't have jealousy. Practice and liberation are personal matters, so why do you compare yourself to others? Please focus on addressing your problems based on your spiritual progress, circumstances, and faculties. When you are sick, you go to the hospital. We are all patients, so what's the point of envying someone whose illness is less severe than yours? For example, what's the point of a hepatitis B patient envying a hepatitis A patient? It's pointless. You might think their illness is less severe than mine. We are all patients with our own illnesses. Just focus on treating your own illness. Spiritual practice is about healing your own illness, not comparing yourself to others. Jealousy, competitiveness, or the desire to surpass others are illnesses. You have to treat them first. If you think everyone is sick, you won't envy others. Who will you envy? You are a patient who seeks treatment. Everyone has their own illness. Some people have milder illnesses, while others have more severe ones. The timing and conditions for healing also vary. So, there is no need to envy or criticize others. Just focus on your practice. If someone needs your help, do your best to assist them. If someone needs our help and there is a karmic connection, we should do our best to assist them. Otherwise, as beginners in practice, we'd better not get involved in too many matters. If someone really needs your help, you should strive to assist them. This is because we need to cultivate virtues. When others face difficulties and need our support, we should do our best to help them. However, if someone doesn't need your help, but you impose your help on them, it indicates that there is an issue with yourself. I have always emphasized that as practitioners, we must constantly reflect on ourselves and not dwell on others' faults. The faults of others have nothing to do with you. Even if you notice the faults of others, don't generate negative thoughts. You can arouse compassion, but never let anger or aversion arise. Aversion will only bring afflictions and suffering to yourself. After murmuring, complaining in your dormitory, or privately discussing with others, you create a lot of negative karma and have to experience the consequences. What is suffering? You are causing trouble for yourself. We must strive to do this. First and foremost, we should focus on taming our own minds and speech. When you have truly purified your body, speech, and mind through practice, you can guide others by example. Leading by example means using your body, speech, and mind as a role model rather than merely criticizing others. What's the point of judging others verbally? It's pointless. Only when you have truly embodied something yourself can you criticize others. If you haven't lived it out, you shouldn't judge others. Only after you have done it well can you comment on others. We should only observe our own faults. Although I often emphasize it, the habitual tendencies of ordinary beings are difficult to change, just like preschool children. Unconsciously, we tend to dwell on others' faults. There is no use or benefit in dwelling on others' faults. We should observe others' merits, strengths, and virtues, and practice rejoicing and praising. When it comes to the actions of others, we should try to think positively. Because without understanding someone's intentions, we may misunderstand their behaviors. Such situations often occur. If someone's good intentions and actions are clear to everyone, there is nothing to argue about. However, if some behaviors are ambiguous, you may misunderstand them. Perhaps their intentions are good, but you may misinterpret their actions. In such circumstances, we should try to think positively. Evil people and those with bad character tend to think negatively of others. You cannot know someone's innermost intentions by only observing their words and actions. Hence, misunderstandings can arise easily. Even between spouses, misunderstandings often occur. Romantic partners often argue or break up due to misunderstandings, not to mention fellow practitioners. Because you have a limited contact with fellow practitioners, when you see a partial or superficial aspect of their intentions or actions, you may misunderstand them. In theory, romantic partners should have a deep emotional connection, yet misunderstandings still occur frequently. Therefore, as ordinary beings, we often misunderstand others. Don't trust yourself too much. If you do, you will be prone to thinking negatively of others. This is not good for yourself, nor for others or situations. It is a manifestation of our negative character. We tend to interpret the words and actions of others in a negative way and lack trust in them. Our own words and actions also fail to gain the trust of others. You may think that you are doing things with integrity and righteousness. However, everyone's mind is filled with immense greed, anger and ignorance, and we often fail to see our afflictions. Such situations can happen.